Drywallers, shot callers, and everyone in between. Drywall News, we're back. Joined with your hosts, Dan Delight, here with Nassim and Ryan. As always, do as you're told, like, comment, subscribe. You know that we are the big train that never stops, and we're here to be late to the Sam Seder video. It's, we had maybe other things on our mind than watching some blue light ghouls come out from under the shadows. But let's dive right in. Drywallers, this should be a lot to digest. We've already kind of gotten our feet wet. Let's kick off.
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
Xenophobic nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
I mean, look,
Which, for those who don't know, Sam Seder has been doing this for like 30 years. So.
Yeah, he's probably the most patient man who could have done this. I'll also like to point out this chick that they're starting with, she's Canadian. She's not even American.
Yeah.
So this is the bottom of the barrel that Jubilee could find.
She probably also smells. All of these people.
They all probably fucking smell, bro. They all look like LA baristas who use rocks as fucking deodorant.
Zero sex appeal, zero libido because of all the blue light that they're consuming from their screens. And they just can't stop looking at the ring lights. So they all stink, and then they can't get laid. So then they are just sitting around being hateful. Just being hateful.
This is especially true when we get to the guy with the neck beard.
Yeah. I'm very excited to point out the DEI hires for this video, one by one.
I'm Seder, host of the Majority Report, and today I am surrounded by 20 conservatives. My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
That's as fast as they've ever gone.
We got Usain Bolt out here, bro.
I love how he stared him down, too.
I think I have a slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI and why I believe Trump would, want to support the issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA, right? You know that.
Right.
In government agencies, the A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases.
See, my eyes want to give him credibility, but then my ears are like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, we know that they all look like baristas. They all look like they should be reading Marx and fixing coffees. But it's like, that's these companies are going to go back to hiring either the indentured slaves from India or just strictly white finance dudes that are going to go straight to the C-suite. And DEI wasn't even really helping, but that's the issue. It's like, if it's even doing a little bit of help, then
And my problem is Sam chose this question specifically to highlight. He put in a trap by mentioning DEI, but it was supposed to highlight the corruption and the true ulterior motives of the Republican Party, and all of them just fall into the trap of, let's argue about DEI. What even is DEI? None of us even know what DEI is. And they totally missed the whole back part where he just wants to give power to corporations.
Well, we're also talking about Sam Seder, who's used to doing call-ins and talking to actual intellectuals and not people who got hit in the head a couple of times as a kid with a frying pan. These people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're just spouting the same shit they see on Twitter and Fox News.
What was the casting call for this? Like, how did they find these people?
Look like a
bunch of failed
Republican who
actors.
might have
No.
had sex before.
It's a bunch of failed actors that have never they haven't gotten a boner in 3 years, and
They're
they
mad
just
about
rock
it.
up. They have to
They
rock up
blame-
to Jubilee, thinking that the pipeline is Jubilee talking to Sam Seder, showing how bigoted you are, to then getting Iron Man. That's the pipeline.
In Los Angeles, of all places.
It's like, I mean, but would we be
They must hate
surprised?
their lives. They hate
Now
their
that's
lives.
the thing. Would we be surprised if one of these guys does land like the next Captain America?
Yeah, maybe on like
As-
the fucking Truth
That's how
Social
dystopian
Network.
we are.
As a DEI
That-
hire, they would be a DEI hire.
Maybe not in this video, but one day there will be a personality that comes from like these reality, like speed dating, and it becomes a life-changing political figure because of just how dumbed down we are.
You mean just the next Reagan or the next Trump?
Yeah.
EIA
Right.
is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that
Right.
have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So it can mean within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do internships in these agencies.
And
Or let's put out notices around different parts of town,
Sure.
metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job
Right,
exists.
and this is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well, then
everyone
why
gets-
rescind DEIA requirements in
problem with-
government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially with
Do
corporations,
you have
it
the
devolves.
evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true proper bases. We can even look
No,
at.
I mean,
we can even look at.
would you
the
have any
DNC's
evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president this year, there was no reason
can't-
to.
This guy wants to laugh. I think that they are just like rep what these producers in Hollywood think conservatives look like, and they're like, yeah, just put on a flannel and like a white shirt, like, and then but he can't. He's literally laughing at. He's like, they're doing it, like, literally cannot like hide it.
Nominate Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected.
Look at this guy.
Dude, his neck vein.
He's cracking up.
What I
I feel like it's
always-
less about that, but he just doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's coming up against somebody who has the data
See,
and
that's the
is
thing.
getting
They
slapped
each-
down.
They each, every time Sam speaks, they all just go, right, yes, yes.
Right. Yeah.
And then immediately dismiss every single thing he said. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's just
You
what it's
go,
like talking
right,
to conservatives,
yes,
dog. I don't know what
yes.
you're talking about.
wrong.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She didn't go through a single primary. None of these things.
So you're saying that Kamala was
So
the vice
far off
president of the
topic.
United States after
Yes.
the president drops out 2 months before the convention. You think that's a DEI
She wasn't.
hire?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that
Do
party,
you realize
except
there were
for
not
Kamala
even
Harris.
primaries prior to 1972
Well,
in
sure,
the
but
Democratic
this
Party?
isn't
Well,
before
sure.
1962.
But wouldn't
This
you
is,
think you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well,
I mean,
sure,
Joe Biden should have
well,
dropped
sure.
out 3 years
even
ago. As far as I'm
before,
concerned.
well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primaries, she didn't.
Okay.
She wasn't the next man up. There, none of this. She wasn't the next person.
She
up.
was the vice president.
Right, of course, but
Yeah.
she wasn't
That
in
tiny
primaries.
detail. But
Right,
listen,
well,
aside from, I would have might have wanted a different
Absolutely.
candidate as well. But that has nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
sure.
If you have folks who identify as as trans, you need to make it at least hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all
But you're
about.
cherry picking the portions of DEI that even
guy's my
conservatives
favorite.
don't have issue. Conservatives don't.
He was saying fuck already. He was already. This is an hour and 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
Wow.
Drywall-
I mean, I didn't.
we might
I
have to hit
suspected
some
it would be unbearable. We have to.
We
That's
will probably just hit
basically
some
the
highlights.
whole DEI
Yes.
apparatus within our
is-
government
okay.
was a function of doing exactly
It
what I
is-
said, had nothing to do with quotas.
It
or
is
even
unfortunate
affirmative
that
action.
those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific
What else
numerical
was he trying
quotas.
to take out with
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into
There is
positions
no
they have
evidence.
no qualification.
There is
He's
no
literally
evidence of what you
describing
just said happening in these
white
government
privilege.
That's not true at all. I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't,
Give me
you know,
one example.
you can't ask
I'm
me.
sure Jubilee would have allowed that, actually.
I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you, but these
No,
are
he's not able to. He's held back by his brain capacity.
Voted out. Please return to your seat.
Exactly.
Is his brain capacity or his fuck ass mustache? Man, where's your ad blocker?
Sounds
That's
familiar
crazy.
to you? It's probably
Yeah, I
because you've
don't-
seen their ads.
I don't know. It was probably Ukraine. It was probably Ukraine. We're always trying to.
Oh, he's excited
Oh, this guy's a dumbass.
to say the
So,
worst shit. ever.
I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility to people who might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused in practice. It was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind.
Libertarian. I can already tell. Idealistic
She,
programs. Oh yeah, and then I like that we get right on Braun.
she looks like one of those
This is
skinny
Braun.
dogs.
No, she's Braum, the reincarnation, you know. But dude, yeah. It is also
So-
this fellow right here, like black Republicans are terrifying. I think we can agree on that. It is some of the most unhinged takes. I'm so excited to see what he has to say.
So they
I-
all just think that DEI is affirmative action.
Yes. Like, unironically, they think it is a set affirmative action system, even though affirmative action as a whole is already gone.
Since
It
like
does
the
not
90s.
exist anymore.
Like it hasn't existed in a long time.
In several years, yeah.
And
Due to the Supreme Court.
was-
Like, they
affirmative
believe-
action bad?
It wasn't. It was more aimed towards colleges. It wasn't aimed for government agencies. What they're thinking of is a system that doesn't even exist in the government. It was literally just to make sure that you included other races and other individuals and like made
And
sure they have the
celebrate the
same
ones that you
resources
have as
in
well.
their agencies.
it was one HR pamphlet week, and that absolutely they thought that that's where the trillions of dollars were hiding. That's where the national debt was, because somebody if somebody speaks Somali, you can try to do your best to maybe pull out a translating app, and that was too much. I think that right there, that's where you have to draw the line. It's like, I don't want to pull out the app to learn Somali so that a forklift driver doesn't get ran over. That's what I don't want to do.
Full disclosure, I have pre-watched a little bit. This guy in particular has no idea what he's talking about.
Oh,
Like, he
let's
acts
dive.
as if there is some system that exists that just has never been there. But let's carry on.
Look
Well,
at dude
he
in the back
hates
over
all
his
types of
shoulder.
government. They hate any type of government. They're like the
Right,
most.
dude. And that's what when he was like, "Oh, anytime there's a government system, it's gonna get abused," and I'm like, because the private sector famously never abuses anything.
Black Republicans kiss a picture of Ron Paul every single time that they go to bed. Like Rand Paul,
Well,
actually. More.
It's just because they managed to get some success, and so they feel like they earned it. And so then they
yes,
become
exactly.
entitled
They
and
got-
become Republican.
Yes. Yeah, they're also the most detached from class in a way, where it's like fuck you, dirty motherfucking poor people.
Right.
Like, it's
Well, it's
like they
like-
can't wait to escape. Oh my God, bro.
Yeah, it's like LeBron James being like, oh, practice makes perfect. You can be like me, just get
Yeah,
just get better.
Kanye.
Kanye is terrifying. Just as a
Idealistic.
whole.
It's fine that a lot of people, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men, we're not going to cast any white men, we only want this particular kind of gender, race, right? That is an abuse.
That's literally
of a
what
system.
casting is, though. You typecast.
But more about perpetuating one aspect of, visual compelling aspects. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse.
Okay,
and what that is it's moral grandstanding. It's saying because we have a Black woman, we sell better soda. Like that.
I got you.
That is not.
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's DEI or, but I can tell you as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid, I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother or this is about my father or someone like me was centered. So, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people. My kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job. I think
what's
Yeah, I think that doesn't get talked about enough, which I didn't realize how much that, like, the internships, it's like, of course, let your kids go out of college, the grubs, and go work at a car dealership. Go work at a car dealership while maybe you get a higher degree, maybe a master's. But the rich kid can keep doing coke during the summer while he gets he doesn't have to pay, a dime while living in New York, and gets an internship at Goldman Sachs working 70 hours a week. And
then that person is then propelled into a government position. Like, it's like I said, there is just a genuine misunderstanding of the representation and pretending that it's some form of affirmative action program, which is just simply untrue. And they beat it into their heads over and over again, then come talk to people who are actually educated and go, no, mommy and daddy said that it meant that Black people will get hired instead of me. Like, they're just fucking stupid.
So, and I might be jumping the chase on this because we're only 8 minutes in, but we see how well brainwashed these people on the right are. What does the left have to do to get the same level of sycophants? Because honestly, I'm kind of jealous.
I think everybody needs to start doing shrooms.
Starts here.
We're talking about 2 different things.
But I'm talking about Trump's DEIA rescission is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
you're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of Americans kind of rejected DEI because
I don't think a majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. what people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this. And liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of woke, and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, well, we don't know what woke is.
And this is just where this guy completely unravels.
Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is a black woman, and then all of a sudden, Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden.
No, that is true.
And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not living in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president.
Yes, but so why did Democrats move away from that and say no, it wasn't because she was a black woman? My point is that
yeah, but that's just politics. Everybody has done that.
That's what they said. I can agree.
Was the candidate? He has the right to choose his running mate.
No, because there were plenty of black women, right? Like he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No,
and I don't believe that.
No, that's not. Conservatives aren't saying that there aren't, because again, and even in the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and there's
She's not a political figure.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a
this guy, he's just he is unraveling.
He has no idea what he's talking about.
You can.
This is what I love. Republicans will be like, it's not. We don't think that all black women are unqualified. But then every single one that you put in front of them, they will find a way to make them unqualified. It's like, they're like, one of them's out there. It's none of the ones that you showed me, but someone out there, they're qualified and they're black. But any black person you bring to me, they're going to be unqualified.
Yeah. And the argument about Biden picking Harris as his running mate, while I had my own issues with it, he chose her most likely as a concession to other parties or other factions within the Democratic Party. And again, he was the candidate. He has the right to choose whoever as his candidate, like as his running mate.
That's what.
Yes, and if it's pandering, it's pandering. Does. That's politics. Like
choosing your vice presidential candidate as a whole is pandering. It always has been.
JD is a DEI pick. Like, he's a fucking DEI pick for guys that like are
love meth that they got from their moms.
Yeah, literally, just he was
like
love to breed as a hobby.
The idea that I'm not, listen, I'm not here to defend the Democrats' choice on every policy, but there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality.
So exactly.
Some people don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run an effective government? What does race have to do? What does race have to do? Hold on. What does
Donald Trump didn't have to say my vice president's going to be a white male.
No.
Because they all knew it was going to.
No, this is the premise of DI. What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If let's say DI on
Sam hit the chug jug. He's getting mad.
Micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I gonna get better nuggets?
I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with
anything? I'll tell you what it. First of all, DEIA means that if you come,
you will get better nuggets depending on if the cashier is black or white. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, dude.
Especially the meaner they are, the better the food.
It's just like how
agency or corporation, you're not going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else, or you don't have the same like physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people it's supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
You would think.
No.
Do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans. It's all statutes. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
It's all statutes or executive actions.
Someone else.
And there it is. This is it. This is where he gives up because he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Look at that look on his face. Look at the look on his face.
This guy might have a point here.
He's like, I still think that the Iron Man position is out there for me, and I don't want to shit too much on DEI.
He wants to be a DEI hire so bad.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Is he's talking about the actors, and then it's like, are you saying that even with DEI you weren't good enough to get a role? Is that why you're mad? You don't think that DEI saw something in you?
Yeah, just
even with
like
DEI,
watching this guy fall apart and trip over his own dick over and over again. That's just like the homogenous thinking of most Republican voters who describe themselves as centrist. They just have no fundamental understanding of what the fuck they're talking about. And then when you make a point, they're like, I'm going to tap out here.
And you see that in the crowd too, because they all make just the most baseless kneecap claim, and then all of them just go, yeah, exactly, right.
And then once a good point is made, they're like, I'm going to raise my flag now.
Yeah, he's like, because I have a cousin who is in a wheelchair, and I have a niece who, like, is fucking blind. It's like,
dude, their personal experiences make them the foremost expert on whatever they're talking about.
Exactly. So then they're realizing it's like, oh, those people, I'm about to publicly say that my little niece that can, hey, maybe, yeah, exactly. She was given some medicine, and then now she has nubs. So now she has nubs, and that's the only way she can crawl around, get her way around the McDonald's. And now he's realizing, so now she's not going to have those door handles. I just argued at taking away my niece with the nubs door handles.
He wouldn't care. They wouldn't care.
Can defend that point specifically better than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
Again, where is your fucking ad blocker?
I knew that I had to make a website, and Wix was perfect for that.
These are our ads. What are you talking about? We got...
Oh, it's my favorite guy. Let's go.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy to protect a person if we've moved past racism?
Because we haven't moved past racism.
Okay,
Easy.
This is such a plant. Like, this guy's so clearly a psyop.
No, dude, this is our far right actor dropout. This is that guy. This is this group's DEI hire.
So has there been digging on him? I mean, he has like boyfriends and stuff, right? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been in homosexual relationships before, and he was in a documentary in college about second generation immigrant college students. Like, this is their guys' DEI hire.
And he was like, put him on the boat, ship him back.
Yeah. He said, my parents might have stolen somebody else's identity, but I'm okay. I'm fine. I should be here. I am better than the other ones. I'm better than the other ones that just got here 7 years later. 7 years. 7 years. Yeah, that's fine.
I deserve to be here.
He's like from Texas or something, I think, too. Like, this guy, he's in our top 2 of the night. Let's keep going.
The freeze frame on his face.
Are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So I guess going to the LGBT topic.
He's glad because
I'm glad that you're saying that. Wow.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't.
What's the reason?
They simply want protections back for their own children, because children are being stripped away from
their
parents.
own children?
Parents?
Children are being stripped away from their parents.
Yes, due to AB 954, they've now included gender identity as a.
I hope that that's not the first and last time. I hope that's not the last time he quotes a piece of policy, because I like doing that too. I like being like, that's under 308-347.
Well, it's also just
A1.
that's also just a specific California
authority.
bill.
And he's just showing his authority. It's all about just grounding yourself.
Give him a couple minutes.
Premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their children's doctors to provide gender affirming care?
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids.
If a child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change. Now, in terms of a DEI initiative, the reason why there are 3 bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different mood stabilizer pills. And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring an ice cooler pack with your whether that be hormone estrogen or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing war?
Well, the executive orders that
he almost said opposing team.
He wants to shoot people so bad.
Yeah,
he wants to shoot people so bad.
And he probably knows a trans person that shoots better than him, and it pisses him off because he's like, wow, and then the idea
They're everything
that
I want to be.
Yeah, the idea that they would do that they would throw somebody that is like transitioning right onto the front line. I mean, we're talking about CQB, like close quarters, just with a rifle, front line. Like,
honestly,
that's what he thinks.
Honestly, Pete Hegseth's army, they probably would want to put all the trans people on the front line.
Why are we? Yes, exactly.
They're like, just go kill all of them first.
They've done a lot of shooting too. I feel that's dark. Reese, I mean, I don't know. Look into it. Yeah, shoot or shoot. I mean, what am I going to say?
Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The FDA. They just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well,
what are we talking about here?
Okay, well,
honestly, like they're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right? But at the end of the day, if a person
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree existed, right?
Just listen to this. If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides tax cuts. For the end of the year, when you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is Black or a person of color. I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
In agencies and private
in government
businesses.
Agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people
And
of
the other
color.
thing I wanted to
protect
the other
people
thing I
from
want to
discrimination.
the other thing I want to kind of state here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize,
Latino or Hispanic descent, here's the self-loathing. He couldn't even think of another race because he was so like, how about all the pieces of shit that I grew up with that bullied me for being such a dork and that are getting jobs and drive F-150s that are worth $100K. Like, that's what he's pissed off about.
Let's just skate by the government funding thing for a minute, because oh my god, it gets so much better. This guy's such a dipshit.
Oh yeah, like that's crazy that he said that too. Like,
he's such a fucking moron.
Corporations, yeah, probably did have some kickbacks to like put some of these programs in, or just like, you know, implement stuff. But it's like to say that the government agencies were getting a tax cut.
is you're actually doing more harm than good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on
DEIA does not is not.
It's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color,
No,
physical
it
attributes.
says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different.
But that's irrelevant to a job, right? It should be based on merit, and that is the emphasis
People
here.
get hired as a merit, but if the DEIA, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of these orders
received a
on these
tax cut
agencies.
as an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
if you could pay them
Dude.
less.
Listen,
Dude,
we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
Every
parts
private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies
he has a very punchable
are
face.
funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the
Look
whole
at poor Sam here.
Government agencies are not funded by the government, obviously.
Sam Seder was probably the best choice for this form of interview because I know a lot of like other left-wing or progressive people would have had words come out of their mouth that would have gotten me fired at any job ever. I could not have stopped myself from calling this guy a stupid fucking dipshit who had gotten hit in the head by a fucking frying pan, didn't even make his way through high school, and probably failed his way up through college. Like, that is the most brain-dead thing he could have said in any form of political conversation, that government agencies don't function off of taxes or that they get tax breaks. Like, it's again, they substitute a reality that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's sad.
Conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that.
That was a dunk.
FDA does not pay taxes. It does not get a tax cut because it doesn't pay taxes. DEIA forces them as an agency to say, if you have a job opening, you must do your best efforts to make sure that every
I like that.
part
I love
of
me a
society.
buzzword. You must do your best effort. I love that buzzword.
Okay, pause.
Because you feel like you have.
Not what a buzzword is. Not what a
to.
buzzword is.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pressured to hire someone based on skin color.
No, not to hire someone on skin color, but put up notice about that the job exists. Make sure that you put it in different communities so that you have as wide an application pool as possible.
And therefore you get
All
tax
right.
cuts.
All right, return to
At
your
the
seat.
end of the year when you file taxes, you get a tax cut for hiring someone who speaks a
Please
different
return to your
language or a
seat.
different skin color.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Again, this was the top 2 stupidest motherfucker on the panel.
Planet. You misspoke planet.
Look at his face right there.
He thinks he won. He thinks he won.
Nah, dude, he's about to get a Daily Wire show now.
So I want a little bit more clarification because I don't even know if we got it yet on which part benefits corporations, like from your perspective.
Thank God, finally.
The U.S. government agencies, the vast
Back on track.
what they function to do is inhibit corporations from essentially externalizing their costs onto society.
Sure.
So the example would be, I used it before, but it's a good one. I'm making Teflon, C8, for instance, okay? And C8 is supposed to be burned because instead of deposited, because it's a forever chemical. And I can go out and instead of burning it, it's too expensive to burn it, I'm going to dump it into a river. And the EPA comes in and says, you can't do that. We're going to fine you. You're not allowed to do this. But what the company is doing when they do that is they're going to take the profits that come with lowering their costs by dumping it into the river. And those costs are then borne by everybody who lives around that river. They're going to get cancer. They're going to get gastrointestinal problems, whatever it is. And society bears the cost of that.
Can you connect the dots for me, though? Because it sounds like we're talking about something completely different.
And so
he needs to connect the dots between some town getting their water source polluted, and that somehow he wants to put people's teeth falling out and their and mom can't even drive because she has terrible vertigo because of the radium. He wants that explained to him.
He's like,
how
how
the
does
corporations are passing a cost on. He doesn't understand how that's a cost.
And how is that any business of the government? Why should the government care about that?
Yeah, it's citizens. Why? You know, it's like
corporations are people too. They have a right to dump those chemicals,
to vandalize. They have a right to just destroy our natural resources.
So watch throughout the whole video. Watch whenever Sam's talking, just how agreeable the Republicans are.
Yeah.
It's just
they're all,
it's so funny. They are all just, yeah, okay, right, yes.
They're just
yes.
fucking dumb, stupid hogs, dude. Like,
and then they don't hear a single
the
thing.
DEIA stuff is just the beginning of demoralizing these agencies and trying to wreck them from the inside. It's all part of like Russell Votes thing, the OMB, the whole Schedule F, where they get rid of civil servants and they demoralize people and they don't want them to be able to function.
So then would you agree if this is about demoralizing? I mean, over 75 million people voted for Trump, right? He won the popular vote. Do you not think that in part, you even said yourself that Americans don't really know what DEIA is, according to your definition of it?
Well, the government's definition of it.
Okay, well, I would argue that the average American is demoralized by what they've seen, the way that the government goes about their DEI policies and the military and other organizations, not just the military.
Like you could if that guy gets on the mic again, he is just so full of anger.
Hold on, pause it.
Before we go any further, we want to take a moment.
I thought it might be fun if we try and give a quick tackle to that question as well.
Like DEI military practices, or
I think that more trans people should be on the front lines of everything. Wildfires, military.
Not the military. Just the premise, like how the Republicans came up and started to talk about it. I think we should have a turn.
Yeah, this is really long.
Yeah,
it is very long.
Yeah, might want to catch. Well, this guy can get
so much and what they're different.
Oh, this is like a built-in. This is
so. Let's tackle one aspect.
Oh, he's
religious
back.
Fundamentalists.
Oh wait. Oh, this is another good one.
Voting for Trump was a mistake.
Oh, this is where we get the banger lady. Let's go. All right.
Okay. So let's tackle one aspect, religious fundamentalists. What benefit would religious fundamentalists get? And also, can you define what is a religious fundamentalist?
And maybe you could say more of like a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
In this instance, but things like the attacks on trans folks, the attacks on a woman's right to choose, the idea that we're going to get stuff like an enhanced RFRA, which is going to mean that if you're a pharmacist and you don't want to provide birth control, you may not have to.
Don't you think you're assuming
that if you believe that public education, we should take that money and pour it into religious schools? You're gonna get a benefit out of a Trump administration.
Yeah, but don't you think you're assuming that the vast majority of Americans who are moderates?
What do you think you're gonna get out of the Trump administration?
Economic relief. That was
what kind of economic relief? They're going to cut Social Security. You're going to have to pay for your parents. They're going to cut when they go after the agencies like they're going after, right? This is outlined in Project 2025. Russ Vought, who's going to be the OMB head, he was the OMB head the first time around. He wrote all the book on this stuff.
Okay, well, you bring up
when you cut agencies and go after them, and you fire all the inspector generals so that they're not being able to make sure that the agencies are working, who do you think profits from that? It's corporations. They're going to go after agencies that make sure your food is
this guy's having a good time.
Is not full of botulism, that your air is not full of mercury, that your water is not full of C8. This is what they're going to do. Agencies exist to curb corporations from externalizing their costs and privatizing their profits. So it may be cheaper for a company to dump their chemicals into a river than it is for them to dispose of it in a safe way. So they get the profits from that, but the costs are borne by society. They're borne by society in the form of like people get cancer. They're borne by society in terms of like we've got to do the cleanup. That's what agencies do.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
He got voted out so fast.
They didn't even let him respond.
Hey,
Yeah, these are
that's nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with the religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not.
I just can't. I don't know. I think it's. I mean, that last guy there, he doesn't even know that women come. So we'll call it a wrap on that first section. Part one of three of the Sam Seder video. Hang in there. Sam Seder, come on the show. We need you back.
He's fighting the good fight.